This podcast was sponsored by and recorded at Crossings Pub and Eatery on Hyde Park.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are finding us in the digital universe. Welcome to another edition of the Vicars Crossing podcast. And we're coming to you today, as always, from Crossings Pub and Eatery on Hyde Park Road in London. My name's Rob Henderson. I'm the rector and priest at Holy Trinity St. Stephen's Memorial Anglican Church in South London.
And my name is Kevin George. I'm the rector and priest at St. Aidan's Church, also here in London, up in the northwest corner on Oxford Street West. And I'm delighted to be here at Crossings, enjoying a powerhouse ale. Is it an ale or a lager?
It's a lager from London.
It's a lager from London.
London lager.
Local beer,
Yeah.
made right here in the city.
Right.
And we're enjoying it. You like it?
Found here at Crossings. I'm loving it. Yeah.
Okay, good
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have a good guest today who's enjoying a blue at the moment.
That's right.
Original blue, straight from London here too. So
That's right.
I
So
think they brew it right out of the Thames River, I believe.
Right. We're
Yeah.
doing local beer today on the podcast. And a special guest that Kevin's going to introduce in just a moment here as we record today, just a couple of days before Remembrance Day. November 11th. So we'll get to that in just a minute. How are things over at St. Aidan's? Let's check in with what's going on in our communities.
Well, we've been trucking along over there, trying to stay out of trouble. Last weekend for us, as it was in your church, I'm sure, was a big celebration of All Saints, one of the feast days in the year that we don't always get to highlight as much as the big ones like Easter and Christmas. But fun nonetheless. Great to see a church full of people, and we did a sort of a memorial shrine this year. So we invited people to bring photos of people that they wanted to remember and or mementos. And so there was a beautiful display of like 50 pictures up at the front on this shrine. Some of them actually were folks who were in their military dress, because some people this time of year are in a spirit of remembrance. And it was a pretty cool weekend, and we were pretty pleased with how everything went. What about you guys? What do you got going on at the how do you say that now?
HTSSM.
Yeah, HTSSM,
the
Holy
short form.
Trinity St. Stephen's Memorial Anglican Church.
London. That's
That's
a
a mouthful.
isn't it? Yeah. Well, like you, we celebrated the Feast of All Saints on Sunday, and again did some memorializing and a candlelighting ceremony with our folks, which was moving for many people.
Yeah.
And again, always good to see a full house and people taking part in that and remembering those in their lives. And this Sunday, of course, being Remembrance Day, it's an important day in our parish.
Be a big one for you guys, I would think.
Right. Holy Trinity St. Stephen's Memorial is a combined group of parishes with the Holy Trinity Church that closed a little while ago that has moved into the St. Stephen's Memorial building. But St. Stephen's Memorial Anglican Church was built by veterans. That area of land was given to veterans when they came back from the war, and they built their houses there. And there are still some in the area, but for the most part, a few families from those veterans are still around. But so there's a real root to Remembrance Day and the military and those that served in our parish. So it's a big day for us. So we do have some parishioners who are veterans, and will be coming in to do a special program for us during our service at 10:30 on Sunday. And then afterwards, we're going into the back. We have a Veterans Memorial Garden in the back of the church.
Nice.
And with some stones that have been dedicated to veterans. And with our two parishes that have come together, we've built a pergola in the back, and are also putting some more names on the pergola of veterans that were connected to folks at Holy Trinity Church. So we're trying to combine all that together. And then at 5 o'clock, we're doing a special bell ringing at sundown at 5 o'clock to commemorate those that paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we've invited folks from the neighborhood, and again, some of those veterans to come by and do that. So anyway, lots going on.
That's a pretty special
and a big
thing.
Sunday for us.
Number of churches, in fact, St. Aidan's participating as well. That 100 rings of the bell for 100 years since the end of First World War.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
And it's happening right across this country. So wherever you're listening to this, if you're in Canada, seek out one of your local churches and go at 5 o'clock or
Definitely.
at the sundown and get a sense of
just show
that
up
purpose and history.
Yeah, be part of that. Be part of that. That's great. Good. Well, would you like to introduce our guests, Kevin?
Yeah, well, we just got to meet George Beardshaw ourselves, and I should say a word. Last weekend after we did last week's podcast, I was thinking with Remembrance Day coming up it would be really great if we could have a veteran come and speak to us. Now, that's getting harder and harder to do. So I got online and I found a Canada Remembers webpage. And they have, for those of you out there are teachers or have schools or community organizations looking for people to come and speak, this organization does a great job of pairing you up with people. I put in the information, and 10 minutes later I got an email from Toronto saying they think they could pair me up with somebody. And they told me about George. And George Beardshaw is a British home child, in fact, came to this country as a 14-year-old and also served in the Second World War. And has quite a story to tell. And we just got to meet him downstairs. And when I offered for him to join us in a sudsy beverage for this podcast, he didn't hesitate.
Not at all.
So we felt like we were in good company. We thought we landed on a winner here. Winner, chicken dinner. We're happy to have George with us. So George, we want to welcome you to the Vicars Crossing.
Welcome.
So we're glad that you've come to be with us, and you've got plenty of stories to tell. So perhaps we'll just start by Rob will invite you to share some stories, and we'll go from there and see what we bring out.
Sure, George. Yeah, tell us a little bit about maybe where originally you're from, and a bit of the story that brought you here.
I'm originally from Yorkshire. I'm a Yorkshire boy.
Yorkshire boy. Yeah.
I'm supposed to be related to a guy named Captain Cook.
Oh,
wow. I have a role of what do you call it? I think it goes back to him.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't believe all that. Anyway, I guess I was put in the orphanage. My mother had 5 children. Right?
Okay.
She had 3 boys and 2 girls. I never knew about my sisters until I was ready to go to war. You know, I was that old. You know. 19, coming 20, like, yeah. So anyway, I had these 2 brothers of mine. We ended up in Dr. Viana's homes. That was a place called Boys Garden City, and it was 800 boys there, and about 35, there were 20 cottages or so, and it was a beautiful place. It had gardeners to look after stuff and everything like that. And had a gym, everything you could think of there, a swimming pool, we had everything there. We used to have 2 football fields, soccer fields, like cricket,
sports.
Yeah, that was
the game.
All the real sports, right?
Yeah,
the real sport.
Yeah, and a racetrack, we run around there. Yeah, but I wasn't Church of England. I was
Wesleyan, I believe.
Wesleyan. Yeah, that's yeah. John Wesley came to America years ago and taught religion over here. You know.
A good Anglican,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let me see. I was in
3.
I was in this house, and we had every house had a matron or assistant matron. There were usually women that weren't married or their old maids or whatever, like, you know. Mm-hmm. And they had 35 boys to take care of. And
wow.
All our meals, we had to go to a large, it was cookhouse and a big hall with a big clock on the top that strikes just like a big band, you know. Yeah. You could hear it for a quarter mile away, like, you know. And this hall was named Canada Hall. So the whole bunch of us, the 800 kids, could sit down in there and have their meals, like, you know. Yeah. Of course, we didn't get classy food, you know. No. We had our own bakery in the home. We baked our own bread, like.
So good bread.
Yeah, we had a bakery there. And they also made bread for the girls' home, which was a few miles away, like, you know.
Okay.
And I went to school. First time I went to school was I had to walk quite a ways. And it was outside the home. And I went to a kindergarten type of school there, mm-hmm. like, you know. And I always remember a little old lady, she was called Miss Flowers, and she played the piano, and us little kids would dance, and they'd have a maypole, you know. Us kids be hanging on the maypole, we had to go this way, that way, until we got them all mixed up. And then we had to do them, you know. But I could see her playing the piano, and, you know,
Wow.
There was a girl there, she sat next to me, and she used to have gobstoppers every day.
Gobstoppers.
those
Gobstopper
big
on
ones.
a stick, you know.
Yeah.
And I never used to get no candy.
You didn't? No.
After she'd finished licking that, I'd get it, like, you know. So after that, I went to school inside the home. They called it the tin school because it was a temporary school.
Okay.
You know, they were promised they were going to build a real good school, but they didn't, like, you know. So I went there for a while. And
Do you remember about how long you were there at the Canada House?
at the home,
At the home?
yeah, I was there from, what would it be there?
3 when he went.
You were 3 when you got there.
Yeah.
And
And
when
I
did you
was,
when did you move out of there to come to Canada?
Well, I was coming 15.
15
Coming
years
I was
old, eh?
in between, like.
And how did that come about, George? Did they come and look for volunteers, or
Yeah,
like?
there was. I was in the class one day, and school inspector come around and said, "How many of you boys would like to go to Canada?"
Up went your hand.
You went right up, huh? Yeah.
And one reason was my oldest brother was already here.
Yeah.
He came here in 1934. My brother John.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Now, whereabouts did he come to?
Well, he ended up in Cortland.
Oh, yeah.
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 I think he worked on tobacco farm. Like,
Right. Yeah.
And he used to write and said he had a motorcycle over here and he could do 60 miles an hour and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I got to go there.
We got to get to Canada.
Yeah, I'd go there. I'd be a cowboy or something. You know.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because I'd seen the wheat fields and
Yeah.
the cowboys, and that's all I knew about Canada pretty well.
Right.
I knew about Montreal and big cities like, you know, other than that. You know.
What was the trip over in those days?
Well, the trip over was great because I came over on the same boat that the King and Queen came over in 1939.
Wow.
I was on it before they were, like, you know, the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nice.
Yeah.
They treated us fine, but
Landed in
according,
Halifax?
was it Halifax?
No.
Montreal.
Montreal.
Montreal,
Yeah.
was it? Yeah. Now, did they tell you when you put your hand up and volunteered and
Yeah.
you started to find out a bit more, did they tell you where you were going?
No.
No. It was a surprise when you landed. You weren't too sure where you
Get rid of you to Canada.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that trip
Anyway.
over here, you made that trip the whole way, but you didn't know where you were going.
No, we ended up in Toronto, and they had a list of all these farmers that needed young fellas, like, you know.
Yeah.
So they just said to us, "Hey, you guys, come along, just stay 80 meter by the bow. That's the place you want to go."
Yeah.
Okay.
So I looked down the list and I saw Mr. and Mrs. Payne, RR1 Little Britain. Well, that's, yeah. I didn't know what RR1 was, you know.
Right,
I mean,
yes, yeah.
So anyway, I saw Little Britain, so I said, well, I came from Great Britain, I'll go to Little Britain.
Little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about 5 miles south of Lindsay.
Yes.
You know where Lindsay
I know
is.
Lindsay, yeah.
And this guy was the president of Lindsay Fair when I got, you know,
Okay.
he was the president of Lindsay Fair. And he was kind of pissed off because he had to get off his binder because he was cutting the grain or something. And he had a 29 Chev, but it was in beautiful shape, like, you know.
1929 Chevy.
Yeah. Well, of course, that was 1938. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, he didn't like getting off his binder and picking me up at a place called Ops.
Okay.
A station, I don't know, it's somewhere between wherever, I don't know. Picked me up there, and when I got to the house, the old lady came out, she looked at me, and she said, "I'm not washing pillow covers with that grease in your head. Oh, you get that stuff off your hair when you come here," or something like that, you know.
Oh.
Wow.
So she said, "You know how to use a lawnmower?" "Oh, sure, I know lawnmower, but nothing to learn a lawnmower." "Well, you get them fancy clothes off and get your coveralls on." I had a big trunk with all my stuff in. I was well outfitted, like, you know, yeah. And a Bible and all that kind of stuff, right now. And so within about 10 minutes, I was outside pushing the lawnmower, and pretty soon it was noon, you know. And they had a hired man. And of course, we sat down at the table in the kitchen, and she had corn on the cob there, like, Oh, I'd seen, what's his name, Charlie Chaplin
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
movie, Modern Times.
Yeah,
And they had a cob. It was spinning around.
Yeah.
And he would just put his mouth up to it.
I'd seen that, but that stuff in England was chicken feed. They wouldn't eat that stuff.
No.
No.
And that was your dinner that night.
No, well, they had more than that.
Yeah.
So I watched the hired man. He ate about 3 cobs. He put butter on there and salt and pepper. Oh, I'll try that. So I tried it. I think I ate 3 cobs.
Pretty tasty, huh?
Yeah, the old lady, she said, George, don't you eat any more of that. She said, it'll make you sick.
Jeepers.
Well, shortly after that, now I had my boots and coveralls on and all the rest of it. I went down to the barn. Cow shit everywhere. I'd never walked in cow shit in my life before. Chicken shit, cow shit, whatever. It was all down there in the barnyard.
I guess you were in a shitty position.
Yeah, I certainly was, yeah. And there's the pigs there and everything. And a couple old sows digging up stuff in the barnyard there.
Now, George, how did they treat you, the family?
They treated me not bad, but they worked my rear end off.
Rear end, yeah.
They chose a different way, but so...
Up at the crack of dawn and working all day?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Up at the crack of dawn. Yeah.
Were there any other, did they have children? Were there any young people in the house other than
No,
yourself?
it was just a couple like that. They were
Right.
in their 60s or something like that.
Right.
Now,
right.
George, other British home children who came over that you might know of, some of them had a really hard time, eh?
There's one in Sarnia.
Yeah?
He came over on the same boat with me.
Okay.
And
Have you
that's the
kept in
only
touch?
one I know of, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's more talkative than me. You should go and visit him.
Oh, yeah? More talkative than you, George.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, George.
Yeah, I know. And, well, yes, Judy. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the war was on, and I had a letter from another brother, Charlie, still in England. He was in the British Navy. Yeah.
Okay.
And he wrote and told me he'd found our mother.
Yeah.
And 2 sisters, and I did hear where his boat was torpedoed, the battleship when he was on it.
Yeah.
And I thought, there goes my brother Charlie.
Did he perish in that torpedoing?
No, he didn't. He wasn't on the boat when it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And is that what got you initially to sign up for the war and
Well,
and go
not
over there?
really. I'll tell you how I signed up for the war.
Yeah.
I had 3 cows I had to milk, and what's his name? The farmer's name? Geez, never mind.
Mr. Payne.
Old Man Payne.
Yeah, he had 3 cows to milk, and he came down there late one day, and I'd start to milk one of his cows, and I said, William, that's his name.
Yeah.
William.
Well, this cow isn't giving as much milk as she used to, We said, keep your mouth shut. She probably gave it a little more. Well, I thought the old son of a bitch, she got out of bed the wrong side. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I was thinking about, getting away from there, because we had horses,
Yeah.
And I told him if we ever got a tractor, because it's so old-fashioned, with horses. I'd
Horse and plow. Yeah.
Plow all day with a 1-furrow plow with a team of horses. And that's hard work for a 16, 17-year-old.
I would say so. Not many of them will want to do it today.
Yeah.
Ian, do you ever do any steering a plow
any
at 15,
plowing?
16 years old?
I don't think I've ever touched a plow.
And not a motor
So
driven one.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the motor-driven one.
Yeah.
So,
No.
and about the only place I ever went to was church on Sunday,
Yeah.
which was a little tiny place on the crossroads way out in the country there. And the preacher used to come from another church, Oakville or something.
Okay.
Oakville?
And
Yeah.
he'd come and preach in the afternoon. He brought a little old lady he picked up on the way, and she had one leg that was stuck out straight and stiff, and she played the organ, and she had to pump the whole thing with with one leg.
With one leg?
Yeah. And then the old church, I think the mice got into the felt in the organ, and she'd be playing away there, the hymns, and all these other notes had joined in where they shouldn't be. You know,
just like today, like today.
And of course, there'd only be the old farmer, his wife, the preacher, and the organist there.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it'd be. We tried to sing the hymn, or whatever it was, but I used to laugh. Yeah, I thought it was a huge joke.
So you were getting to the point though where you wanted to get out of there. Eh?
Yeah. Well, when he said that to me, I just threw the milk pail over against the wall, scared the shit out of the cats, and he says, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to join the Air Force." He said, "You want to join the Air Force?" He said, "You're too yellow." Oh.
Oh.
Try me.
Call you cowardly, eh?
I was gone as fast as I could up to the house. The old lady was getting breakfast ready. She said, "George, you got the chores done already?" I said, "Yep, all I'm gonna do." And she said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Well, you left him down there with all them chores to do." I said, "Yep, I'm leaving you." So she was crying and all the rest. "After all we've done for you, this one day this farm's gonna be yours." I said, "I don't want a goddamn farm, you know." So I just packed my suitcase, and you can send my trunk where I'm going. Like I was going down to my brother John's down in Hootsburgh.
Okay.
Well high.
Yeah.
So that's where I went.
How old were you, George?
I was, I'd be 19.
19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Very
went down
young
and
man.
stayed with my brother for a little while. I stayed with him for a while, and he was married to the girl across the fence
Okay.
from the farm where he was.
Yeah.
She was of German extraction, the family was, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
And they used to meet at the line fence because she worked on the farm. I guess they had a liaison between the two of them, and that was damaging.
Yeah.
Because there was a little bun in the oven there somewhere.
Whoa, easy does it now.
That meant they had to get married in those days or go out of town, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Like.
George, when did you come to, when it came time to go overseas, tell us about your trip overseas. When did you go? And
Well, I left my brother, went to Toronto to join I went to the Air Force first, and they said, "George, it's this late in the war, you'd either be a grease monkey, you know, in the Air Force and that." He says, "Why don't you change the Army?" So I joined the Army at the fairgrounds in Toronto, the exhibition grounds there.
Right. Yeah.
I know we slept in there, about 6 guys in each one of their stalls, like, you know, on the bunks that they had in there.
and what was your regiment again?
Huh?
Your regiment?
I didn't do that till I got overseas. Like,
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah. I had my training, and my basic training was in Brantford.
In Brantford.
Then I went from Brantford to Camp Borden for advanced training, like, you know. And it was my duty, it was my job on June 6th, you know, when D-Day was on. I must have been the first guy to hear about it because they were playing the 10 top songs, you know, on the hit parade on the radio.
Yeah, on the radio. Yeah.
And they stopped me, bulletin. The Allies have landed, and my hair. I'm sure if I'd had hair on the back of my neck, it would have stood up stiff like that.
You remember that moment, do you?
Oh my God, yeah. And I heard it first in the middle of the night, like type of thing, like while I was working, setting the tables up. Yeah. So.
Now, when you were overseas too, George, you were captured. Is that right?
Yeah, but that was the last 28 days of the war. There was lots of stuff went on between that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that experience was like, though? I mean, do you remember where you were and?
Yeah, well, I know when I went overseas, and nobody gets to leave. The Allies had lost a lot of men on the beach, you know, because I wasn't there on D-Day. Like I was here.
After that?
Yeah.
But they sent us over there as fast as we could, and they could get us over there. And, no leave for nobody. And we stopped at a place in Yorkshire, like, and nobody gets leave, right over, the colonel said. And I said, my mother lives not too far from here. He gave me 3 days leave.
Oh, he did he?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Did you find
imagine
her?
A young fellow there, 20 years old,
Yeah.
by that time.
Did you find her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Knock on the door. And she didn't know I was coming or nothing, like, and here's this guy in the Canadian Army uniform, at the front door. And I met a few in-laws and outlaws, a whole bunch of them there, all for the name Beardshaw, Yeah.
What did your mom say when she saw you at the door?
I don't really remember, but
She must have been overwhelmed.
yeah, and but my grandmother, I remember, she's a big fat lady. She was sitting in a big chair there, and when she was sitting there, she had about six inches of knees, that you could sit on. She grabbed a hold of me and sat me down. And some of them old ladies, they never pulled their whiskers out. They had some sticking out here. She rubbed her face against me. Anyway, I was well loved. Then I had to go back. Well, I met certain young ladies that were sort of fancied me there for some reason or other, because I was Canadian, probably.
Well, yeah.
I'd come across
And your
the
natural
ocean
good looks and
all
charm.
that kind of stuff, like,
Yeah.
Handsome young Canadian
Well,
man over in a uniform, right?
well, you see me in the picture there. Like,
Oh, yeah, you look real good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else now? Oh, yeah, then we went down to Southampton and we went over to France, and we just landed on a beach there, and I remember the sand was covered with like snow fence like they used to have years ago,
Right,
with the
yeah.
wooden stakes,
Yes,
rolling down. They used that on the sand so they could get stuff on the beach, and I heard the guns firing and the machine guns going and everything.
Were you
Another
scared?
fight, I felt like, what's his name? That's that couple, Stan Laurel and Hardy.
Oh, yes.
Another
Yeah,
fine
Laurel
mess she got me into.
Were you scared, George?
I was a little bit apprehensive,
Yeah.
20
20 years old.
And then next thing I knew, there was guys, we want you. I was in the Queen's Own Rifles.
Queen's Own Rifles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that got to the furthest of anybody on D-Day. They got their objective, like, and they lost the most men on
Right.
D-Day. I've all kind of movies about it, like.
Yeah.
So what else?
And where else did you see action?
Oh, I saw France,
All over France, I guess, eh?
Holland,
Holland,
Belgium.
Belgium.
Yeah, and I was everywhere, like, yeah. And then I got to be a corporal. Well, how come I got to be a corporal, I don't know. Because then that meant to be a section leader, like, And I was only, 21?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
I guess you saw a lot of stuff over there that you just as soon have never seen.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's lots of things happen there, like, different places. I remember helped liberate this town of Hootsburgh, which is where this Robert's from. Yeah. Well, I guess he was born then, or was he not?
No, Robert wasn't born during
Yeah,
that.
he wasn't born then.
Saved
Anyway,
his
I
parents and
helped.
grandparents' village.
This is a young man that you've since met.
Yeah, it's the Dutchman. He come
Yeah.
over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Special for, well, almost special. I know why it was special.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
came over for what's been going on lately, like,
Right.
Robert must be.
Yeah, he wrote this book about yay thick, and
Okay.
and it's presented to me.
Now, what was the name of the town again?
Hootsburgh.
Hootsburgh. And
Yeah,
you liberated.
OST.
And you liberated this place.
Not just me.
No, not just you.
Not
but-
just you. You had a little help, right?
Yeah.
And I remember we had a guy. He was from New Brunswick, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we had to go down walks into this town, and but there was no cover. The sidewalks are about that wide, and the doors were close, and the Germans were firing the machine guns right down the road. You had to get in between, so for the doorways, and you could get behind the odd house, you get behind it like that. So anyway, I got hit by a flying brick.
Oh,
Get hit by a brick. Okay.
Yeah, on my knee here or something.
Yeah.
And that night they had to take me back behind the lines, for a couple of days. Yeah. So then I came back up again and back in it again. But lots of things happened while I was out there too. I saw all the dead bodies being brought back to the back echelon and that. See them all laying there with tags on their boots here and stuff like that.
And
Hard
your
to
friend Steve's.
What happened to your friend Steve?
My friend Steve, he got shot right in the middle of the road there, and I was a fool. Well, I don't think I was a fool. I loved the guy because everybody loved him for being from, he had an accent there, and it was a lot of fun. And he got shot, and I just grabbed him by his webbing, stuff,
Right.
dragged him over the side of the road there, I remember looking at his watch, somebody put me pinch. I thought to myself, and you think of things like that, I couldn't do nothing, so I had to leave him there, because he was already dead,
Yeah.
But I've since heard more about him since he's been dead,
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and people over in Holland are so gracious looking after the Canadians' graves,
Yes.
And there's a guy over there, he wants to know more about if he has relations over here, descendants
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
So I haven't written to him yet, and I should have. Way
Well, you
behind
have
with
written.
my,
You have written just
Yeah.
recently.
and the night before that we were in a Dutch house, and we hadn't had clean underwear for quite a while now.
This is a good story.
This has got to be a good one, George.
Yeah, the one of our guys, he ransacking around. The Dutch people were all, I don't know where they went. They weren't in their houses anyway. And he went upstairs. And he come down with these pink bloomers like the old ladies used to wear back then, down to here and whatever. He was holding up these pink bloomers and I don't give a shit about you guys, he said, but I got clean underwear.
That's a brilliant story, George.
Right there in front of us, he just ripped the old brown underwear that we used to wear, took them off, threw them in the air, and he put these pink bloomers on, and he sat down on his haunches and was kicking out his legs like a Russian Cossack.
He's pretty excited.
Yeah, and I said, what the hell, if you get hurt tomorrow, what are they going to say about it? Canadian ended up in the field hospital wearing pink bloomers.
Pink bloomers, yeah.
They'll say we're liberated.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
George, tell us about how you got captured. That must have been a harrowing experience.
It was toward the end of the war, and they didn't seem to be giving us any more. There was all kind of, what do you call them, zombies. Mm-hmm. They were still in Belgium, hundreds of them,
Yeah.
The guys that didn't sign up, where Mackenzie King had got these, they were zombies as we called them. They could have sent some of them up.
Yeah.
But we were always short-handed, and this place called Devonton, there was a bridge going into there, and we had to take this town of Devonton. And what we did, we had to go there about 3 o'clock in the morning, where it was dark.
Yeah, it was dark.
And we had, there was dikes up the road,
Right.
and we had to take this bridge that was there. And when we got there, the bridge was made of mortar, like bricks and stuff. And the Germans had did a number on it, and all it was all in the river there,
Right.
So anyway, we were on one side of the dike, and then another platoon belonged to us on the other side. And I never did see the other platoon come up, But I saw people over there, like, now they weren't the other platoon, they were Germans, like, you know. Yeah.
Wow.
And so when I saw that, I know there was a house there, and most of us ran into the house.
Okay.
There was only about 14 of us, I guess. Yeah, I was their corporal. I was their section leader. Like
And you were leading them.
But we did get a brand new sergeant who'd never been in action before, so he'd be over me. But he didn't know what the hell he was doing anyway, because he'd never been in action before.
Right.
Like, you know. Yeah. So what happened then? Oh yeah, the Germans they had what they call a Panzerfaust, and it's something you shoot at a tank. You know,
Okay.
like and they threw one at the house, like, you know, but it didn't do much damage. Thank Christ. Yeah, and I was trying to look out the window, but you didn't dare. And there was a bomb crater there right outside the door, right beside the bridge there.
Yeah.
And three of our guys were down in there. I saw the Germans shoot the one guy and wound the other two. You know.
Wow.
And then from the back door of the house, some German was saying, "Come raus, come raus." Machine guns there and pistols and everything. So we just took off our armored bullets and stuff and threw them on the floor and took the breeches out of the rifles and just threw them around like
Dropped them, and that was it.
I had what they call a little Bren gun like that. When I got to be a corporal, they took the Lee Enfield away from me and gave me the Sten gun called the Plumber's Dream.
Okay.
They could make one of them for $9 or something, you know.
Oh.
And they used that because in the desert, the Germans left all this 9mm ammunition there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tons of, you know, the desert guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the British used all that ammunition. They made a gun to fit the bullets.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called a plumber's dream because it was a dangerous little thing. Like, you know, it would fire one round at a time, or you could make it go several times. Yeah.
So you surrender your guns, and what happens then?
Well, then it just took us. They took us. We had to jump from one block of cement brickwork to the next to get over the river.
Mm-hmm.
And they took us behind a hedge there, and there was the Germans had all these slit trenches that they made workers dig them everywhere. They were there in case they needed, in case the Germans needed to jump in them or something. There was lots of them behind hedges and stuff like that. So I thought, here's where they shoot us and dump us in the...
Scary, eh?
Yeah.
Were you scared,
Well,
George?
Yeah, I was scared, and I was resigned.
Oh, you had resigned to it.
Yeah, I thought...
Yeah. You thought that was it?
Yeah, So anyway, then we marched through the town of Daventry in single file type of thing, and then there was 3 Germans that had bicycles would keep us company and take us back, you know. And we could see all the people in the houses there putting up the peace tide, you know, and of course we could do that in front of us, like, you know. Yeah. Then the first meal we got, I don't know what it was. It looked like carrot tops.
Oh.
And it tasted worse, I think.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
I thought, is this the kind of food we're going to get? Like, you know,
Yeah.
we wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
So that night we walked. At night, walking, there was a plane going over, and it wasn't one of ours. It was one of theirs, I think.
Yeah.
But you could tell the difference between a German plane and a Allied plane, like, yeah.
Just
And
from
then-
seeing it, or the sound of it, George? What was?
Yeah, they had their motors were different.
Okay, so you had a different cadence, different
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah, different. You can tell a Spitfire
Yeah.
from a Heikel or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, I met this guy there, and he was a young German guy about his age, maybe younger. He could speak English, and he asked me for a cigarette, you know. And fortunately, I never smoked, but I always had it because I threw them to the Dutch people.
Right,
Or,
yeah,
when we were
right.
going through a village or something.
Yes.
So, and he got talking to me, and he tried to tell me he was a parachutist, like you know. And he said, I was a butterfly boy.
Oh, yeah.
Butterfly boy.
That was a good expression.
Yeah, good expression, eh?
Yeah. And that night we ended up in the woods someplace, and there was a school building there, a little school building, and there was straw on the floor, and we all slept there. And the next day they oh yeah, there was as I was talking to these Germans, this thing come up. There was a horse and a guy. It was about a 35 Ford or something, and he had the reins on this horse, and the horse was pulling the car, the Ford. I think he was stealing the thing, like he could take it back to Germany when he got back there and stuff. I laughed. I saw that. One horse. that Ford only had 1 horsepower.
1 horsepower.
That's right.
How did you get to come to the like? You were still captured when the war ended?
Oh yes, yeah.
So you captured about a month, you said, right?
I was there for 28 days.
28 days.
Yeah.
And how did they treat you?
Oh, there was guys escaped from there. They kicked the nuns out of a nunnery.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. There was a church there and a nunnery.
Yeah.
But there was about, I think there's about 150 of us guys in there, the Germans.
In a
put us
convent?
there. Yeah, from other
Yeah.
outfits. Some people in there were prisoners, they were American, some were French,
Right.
some were wherever they
Right.
got them, like, you know, yeah.
But they treated you okay?
I didn't do nothing to us. We had one Italian guy in there from the States. He always had a big mouth, little skinny guy. Everybody knew he was there. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And he was one of the guys that escaped, so they missed him. Like, you know.
Oh.
So they nailed his window down after he's gone.
bet they did.
Too late then. But anyway, there was more than him escaped. Yeah.
What was it
Because
like
there was a
today?
little annex from the nunnery to the church. They
Oh yeah.
fall down on there
And they
get
run
into
away.
the church. You know. Yeah.
What was it like when you heard that it was over?
Oh.
Do you remember that moment when you first heard?
Yeah, we did, and the Germans said they're going to take us back to our own lives. But the Germans had their little old buses that were burned wood in them and all that kind of stuff, like, you know, it looked like they'd been from the First World War or something, anyway. But our guys got there before we did, before they did, like, you know, yeah. So our guys came up and they had a big convoy, and they were shot at on the way up.
Oh,
you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they brought chicken and wine and beer and white bread and everything like that. And across the road, I have a
It's
film.
VHS of
I have
them
a film
coming
with
out of
some of it.
Yeah.
When we were.
Must have been an incredible feeling to see them coming.
Oh yeah, yeah. They had quite a time with us. Our own officers had to make us behave. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big party.
Slow down, like
Yeah.
we were gonna rush right out.
every day.
Yeah.
Tell them about.
Push the Germans out of our way, you know.
Right.
Get the hell out of here. And they set up tables across the road. There was a Chinese guy, a doctor or something. They set up tables and chairs and stuff there. And next thing you know, there was hundreds of people there, all cheering it down and carrying it out. Like, you know,
Quite a party.
And so we
They
left
had no
most of
food.
the food for them, you know, because we knew as soon as we got back to our own lines, you know, we get fed anyway. Like,
Right.
Yeah. And I had a nice leather jacket, like, you know, I think it was the best looking one in the Canadian Army because I got some lady to put a fur collar on it.
Oh,
like,
nice, yeah.
Sheepskin.
Yeah, and I gave it to this guy, and he emigrated to Australia after the war, you know.
Yeah.
And he just died last Christmas there, and he still had that jacket.
Is that
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he used to write to me every year.
Is that right?
When he emigrated to Australia, he always wrote back.
Wrote you a
He
letter.
used to
Wow.
send,
But he was a young man that would pass
Yeah.
where they were housed and holler up the news daily.
Wow.
So do you remember arriving back in Canada? Do you remember that day?
Arriving back in Canada, well, that was more or less uneventful.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, because there was people getting off here and there. Let's see. There was a guy, I stayed in England after the war for a while.
Okay.
Because I didn't have enough points to go back, because I wasn't in there for 4 years like a lot of them were.
All right.
And of course I was invited to Buckingham Palace for tea and cookies and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I wasn't really interested in tea and cookies. I wanted to go see my mother and and my family. Anyway, Princess Elizabeth was there, and Princess Margaret Rose, and all the other big shots. Were all there, and the King and Queen. And I watched the King help himself to a mug of tea from an urn, as the marquee there.
All right.
But we were only interested in looking at the princess's legs. That was
Margaret or Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, either one of them.
Tell me about your organization now that you belong to here in town and
Any organization I belong to?
No, yeah, you belong to
The Army Navy.
the Army Navy.
Oh, I didn't go there till a long time after the war.
Yeah.
I came back from the war, and I did go to number 2 Legion, and it was up the back stairs in a little building right across from the market down there. And I thought, what a dump this is like.
We were all small little. Army Navy was downtown too.
Yeah,
Shriners.
it was dump, and they looked like a bunch of old guys sitting there, and of course I was still quite
Still a young guy.
And I never went back there again.
No.
No, I signed up there though.
Yeah.
And I did belong to Mount Bridges Legion.
Yeah.
And when I come back from the war, my brother had bought a tobacco farm out at Mount Bridges.
Okay.
And he needed help, and of course he had cheap help with Brother George coming home. I could help him,
Yeah.
And I got hoeing out there, hoeing tobacco out there, and it was so quiet, so still. I couldn't stand the silence.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand the silence. I was so used to this hustling, bustling guys and vehicles and all that kind of stuff, and going someplace. And
Guns going on.
well, there were a few little talks while we were hoeing there, which I won't mention because they're naughty.
That's right. We're
Save Ian some-
G-rated podcast.
Save Ian some editing.
Now, what if I tell you?
Tell us
I'm not
after.
gonna
Yeah,
tell
when we
you.
turn the
Tell us
microphones off, George, you tell us. Yeah, that's right.
No. I left the next day. I hitchhiked all the way to New York City
Oh, wow.
in my army clothes,
Yeah.
and everybody picked me up. I had no problem.
No problem getting a ride.
I had a good time in New York, and I got the system out of my head, so I could come back and
Yes.
He was told
Work
it
on
was
the-
the noisiest place to go.
because I couldn't stand the silence.
Right, yeah.
Eventually, my brother bought all that land out there where the cookie factory is.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
I could have had that because they were Veterans Affairs were, you could buy a piece
Yes.
of land and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, yeah. But I was too young. I was too young to be settling down.
Right. Yeah, you wanted to party.
Yeah, party. And that's been my life ever since, really.
Yeah.
Well, try. Yeah.
We've got Sunday coming up. It's Remembrance Day. It's important every year. People keep that time to go to cenotaph, to remember in church services and elsewhere the importance of remembering. Did you have some thoughts about why it's important for us to continue to keep these days?
Oh, yeah, I certainly. You can't. At that time, we heard all what was going on with the Jewish situation.
Yes, just last week, yeah.
And not only Jews, all these people were being subjected by this guy that was trying to take over the whole world, and he's not a good man, all that kind of stuff, and freedom, I could go tell you a lot of stories. I'm not a very good guy at making speeches,
Well, if there's
I
one
was
thing-
listening to you two guys talking. You're fantastic. You must be a radio announcer.
Oh my
Well,
goodness!
it's funny you say that,
Funny
because
you
at
say
one
that.
time he was a radio announcer.
I was
Yeah.
before I became a priest. I was a radio announcer.
Yeah.
Yeah, years
You
ago.
are good, you.
Well, thank you. So, George, if you could, you got Ian here, who's 18.
Sure.
Okay, who's 18 years
Getting
old.
there.
What's the one
Close
thing
enough.
you would want him to know that's important about Remembrance Day and why he needs to keeping November 11th on his calendar and making sure that's an important day for him?
Well, I used to remember going after the First World War, and I remember when I was at school, we had the Remembrance Day then for the First World War, well, now that's a question that's been difficult for me to answer, I'm not very good at, I know all the naughty stuff, but I don't know all the good stuff.
Right.
Yeah, well, I've seen what happened, I've done everything, seen what happened, and I never want this to happen again, no.
Keeping
No,
the
we know
memory
what's
alive.
going on in the world today. You can see it in those other countries there, and how they're all, thousands of them are leaving their countries. They're being murdered, and we don't want that to happen in this country.
Right.
That's what we fought for. We fought for freedom, and and never have another war and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, George, I think that's one of the most powerful statements I've heard, and because that's what it is we remember so we don't have it again.
Right.
And when I hear it, and when Kevin and Ian hears it, and we hear it from you, who have walked in those trenches and been through that, that's what we will think about now every November 11th for the rest of our lives.
That's right.
The day George said to us, you remember so that this never happens again.
Right. You worded good because you're a radio announcer. You
Yeah,
son
well,
of a gun.
yeah. Son of a gun. He's been holding out on you, George.
Well, George, we're so thrilled that you could spend the time with us today and that you could share your story. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of folks, and thank you for your service, and we wish you all the best, and we'll be thinking about you this Remembrance Day, so thank you.
Yes.
All right. Thanks to George. We want to thank Kevin and producer Ian for his great work today, and thanks to the folks at Crossings for making our space available to us at Always. So we'll look forward to seeing and talking to you again at our next podcast of the Vicars Crossing. And remember to always look both ways
Before you cross the street.
Thank you for listening. Our hosts are Kevin George and Rob Henderson. Our producer and composer is myself, Ian, with original artwork done by Catherine Olenek. If you have any questions or want to know how to find us, tweet us at Vicars Crossing or find us on Facebook at The Vicars Crossing. If you have any other questions about anything heard on this podcast, leave a comment or look in the description to find out more. Thanks.